Welcome to the Introduction to Miracles class. I'm really happy that you're here and that you are directly in the class or watching this on YouTube or wherever you hear it. And so you're very welcome to join us in, say, getting introduced into A Course in Miracles. Maybe a reintroduction or whatever it is always a new beginning. So it's also with this, like the more you say let this speak to you, it will speak to you in a totally different way, because it becomes experiential. Like you'll have experiences with using this and applying this. And so to continue where we left, it is by really working with this material, so to speak, and letting the material work with us, that a lot of changes can happen. So you're probably aware of that by now. This is our fourth class, and you're not really new at this at all, because you have experiences of this, and it is much more familiar to you than you think. So it is actually remembering how familiar it is to you, and that's what's so great about the Urtext of A Course in Miracles, and of the. It's like, yeah, some veil needs to be lifted. Just, kind of ideas are in the way in order to perceive this in the way that you can actually receive the miracle for yourself. But when that happens, then it's so clear, and it's so amazingly easy, because it doesn't ask for any effort on your part, except for the vigilance and the willingness. The vigilance against validating something that isn't real. So, and more things to say about that, of course. So I'm not. I'm just starting this with you right now, and so one of the ways for us to really feel the connectedness is always to become still, quiet, and slow down the pace that you were in just a moment ago. And so that's what we're going to do right now too, Joe. So don't forget to breathe and relax. And it's good to think that we're not doing anything, that we're not really trying to pursue a goal or something. No, this is just letting this come to us and speaking to us. So that's in that sense, a very receptive state that you're getting yourself into. And today we're using the chapter 1, the B section of that, the relationship of miracles and revelation. And this is the part 2 of that. We did that on Sunday too, and now this is our second turn in this. So we have divided it in 3 sections, because it is quite a full fundament in the miracle procedure, so to speak. So it's very fundamental, very basic, and also this is where it needs to be built on. So it's really like a fundament. Your miracle mindedness is built on what is being shared here and instructed. That's why we take time to really look at this and see, okay, so today what are the aspects that we're actually looking at? So you'll see that creativity will come by. The prayer, like the parts in which prayer is really useful. And the creativity part, I mentioned that. So the creativity part is one of it. The other part is the prayer. It's like the aspect of prayer where you actually can pray for. So that's always causing a lot of confusion too. So that's what we're going to take care of today too, because then it becomes actually really simple to see where your part in the prayer stops, and the other part is going to be given, or is already a given on first hand. And other aspect is the collapse of time. I wrote it down. Collapse of time. So the miracle is really a device for collapsing time. And so we will dive into that too. I think I had some more things. Oh yeah. So the way to see the learning as we do it, like there's something that we learn in this course too. So it is more like to have everything right in place, so that you don't have any confusion about that. So there is action required. There's also a willingness to learn required. And for the first also, you will have to be open to listen. So it's like listen, learn, and do. And listen is really being open and receptive to hear something that you don't know yet. So to hear something where you say like, okay, I'm open to have a new vision come to me. See, that is listening. Then your ears are open. If you already have an idea about what this is, and after your 100 years of study of A Course in Miracles, you already know what everything is, then you are not able to listen. And not necessarily to me, to what I'm sharing, but in general. Like, just to receive something new, you will have to let go of the old, otherwise you will not be able to hear it. So that's just a good practice, like a little bit of gymnastics for your ears and for your being to listen, for your mind to listen. And so the other one is then the willingness to learn. See, that's one other thing, the willingness to learn. So it is not about learning or being able to learn. No, it is the willingness to learn. If you're willing to learn this, you will learn this. See, but as it is always with the things that we share in this class too, it's like always there's the part included into that. If you are willing to learn, that means also that you will be very selective in what you're going to deny, that you say accepted before. That always is part of it too. So in order to learn something, you have to let go of what you've learned before. So the process of undoing, of unlearning what you're so used to, is a big chunk of A Course in Miracles, in fact. So that needs repeating over and over and over, and it needs study in that sense. It needs your activity. So there was the other one, the able to do. When you listen, when you're willing to learn, then you're also able to do. So that's just a given, like that follows from the other two. So that's also good to know. But see how incredibly basic we're active here. Like this is really the fundamental, the fundamentals of miracle healing, the fundamentals of receiving miracles and giving miracles. And all that, literally the basic education of the miracle worker, the re-education, because in fact you already know all this, but you're going to have a fresh remembrance of this, so that it's active in your mind, that you can apply it when it's necessary, and that you recognize the situations and the way you deal with them in terms of connecting with your brother, giving miracles, performing miracles, and all that. So it's very basic, but very good. I'm so happy that we do this, because this is like, this needs to be clear before you move on to anything else. This is like, this is your stuff, so to speak. This is literally the material that you will use in every step in spiritual healing or miracle healing, however you want to call that. So that's why it's so nice to end up here with you, having this as a possibility for us to receive this completely in a language that is actually acceptable. Like you can actually hear what it says. And by starting to apply what you hear, and also by sharing what you have discovered, you will be able to grow your certainty and see it confirmed in the accomplishments that are actually taking place. So that is what will convince you. So now we do like 5 steps back and sit with yourself for a moment, like, okay, so where actually do I find myself? What is it that is occurring in my life? Where do I find myself? Okay, so what is my experience? Do I actually experience miracles, or do I experience peace of mind when I'm meditating? Or is it just for me an essential moment to sit still with myself, and whatever occurs, I will accept it. I'm happy with that. That's fine with me. That is fine too. You know, it's like the starting point with where you find yourself in your experience of yourself is all that matters. We can share beautiful things in this class, but it starts with your experience. Are you willing to learn? Are you listening? Are you able to do, able to perform, able to give this away? So these things will come back in this class too. So yeah, the first thing I wrote down was creativity, because this is coming back too. Like there's a difference between making things and creativity. And the fact that I mentioned this is just because I don't want you to miss out on the fun of creating. Because the way that is being used here in the Urtext is that creation comes from love, from connectivity, from connection, from your relationship, from extending the love that you are to your brother, and seeing how that works, and seeing that it literally is creating, that you're actually fulfilling your function when you do so, just because you are what love is in the extension of your source. So that is really nice. And so there's also an sequence connected to this. It's like God created you, so He created you, and by you giving this away, by you extending yourself as that love that created you, you're actually follow up from your source. You know, that is the way that it goes. It doesn't go any other way. It's like you did not create God. No, He created you. And as an extension of you, you operate here. You are actually extending yourself as an extension of God, as an extension of the love that created you. See, and that's what creativity then is, is meant by in the Urtext. So it's not about making beautiful paintings or this or that. It can be, but it doesn't exclude it, but it's more like it's good to know what the basic is behind all of this. Your extension is where it's about. It's not about the form in which it is extended. No, the extension itself is where the loveliness comes from. It will have any form. It really does not matter. It's not limited by any form. So that's a very basic but very good thing to know too. I think there's some text connected to that too. I'll see if I can find that. But that's always the hardest thing when I'm sharing with you. So I will just leave that for now. It never works. Let me see, where am I? Here. Poof. Boom. Okay, I really leave the part about creativity. It will come back for sure in a very beautiful way. So the next part of it is the idea of time. And time is coming back to us in all the teachings, of course, whether you listen to Joel, whether you read the Course in Miracles, or whether you listen to someone else. It really doesn't matter. So we're all connecting things with the idea of time. And so to bring in new ideas about time is pretty tough. So to be receptive for new ideas about time, you will have to let go of your connection with time for just an instant. And that means that for you to be able to be completely open to receive this idea, new ideas about how you can look at time, at the idea of time, is quite a step because of your identification with your memories rooted in time, and still thinking that there's a continuity of time, a past and a now and a future that are connected to one another. So that's of course not anymore the case, and you already knew that. You already discovered that more or less. Like time is not really like something you can really rely on. Sometimes it seems to be going so quick, and sometimes it's so slow. It really depends on what you're doing. So in the waiting room of the dentist, it can take forever for 1 minute to pass, as an example. So it is like a very flexible idea, but it's also, it also does not exist. So everything related to it doesn't really exist either. When it is rooted in time, it is basically temporary. So it has nothing to do with eternity. That doesn't mean that things that are happening in time don't have any meaning to you. No, they will have meaning for you. But see, it's always temporary learning device, temporary possibility for development, for expanding your consciousness. So everything is then also used in this miracle procedure, so to speak. Everything is used. Even the things that are happening in time are being used for you to become aware of the possibility to use time constructively. And see, we all think that we use our time constructively. I know that for sure. Or sometimes it's a waste of time. Like, well, leave it. It takes too long. I don't really know what you're talking about. I'm trying to do it as constructive as I can, and well, that's enough for me. Like, well, here in this miracle procedure, it is a little different, because you're actually not making those decisions yourself about how you can use time constructively. So this fundamental ideas behind a lot of your learning, so to speak. It is giving up the idea that you know how things work, that you know what things mean, and that you know how things should be applied and when they should be applied. See, all this leads to a lot of confusion for you. So one step backwards is then to admit basically that you don't know what that is. That you say, okay, well, show me how this is being done. When is it supposed to be a good moment to do this? Show that to me. So time then can be used constructively, and this is also a part of you that you want to be alert. Alert. You want to stay your say alertness. That's not really a word, is it? So you want to stay alert in order to be aware that you have a choice in that. So the choice that you can make is to say, okay, well, I want to have use time constructively today, and I don't actually know what that means, but you show me. So then you hand it over to the one who knows, and then it can be shown to you. If you're still willing to listen, you are actually able to receive that for yourself, and that will be confirmed to you in a loving moment in which you actually have something like, oh my God, I can't believe it, how perfect this is. While if you make a constructive timeline, it's probably going to kill you. You know, it's like probably going to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to get my target, and I will I'll fix it, you know. I'll do whatever I can to make that true for myself. See, this is not what is being asked. That was just an example of how you as a human being will start doing that. So here's a whole different way of using time constructively. And that is, so one of the fundamental ideas that is being presented in this miracle procedure, as I call it, like the introduction of using miracles, is then to see that a miracle is really a device to control time. And that is working better than you think. So it's like you start to apply this and use this in your daily life. And when I say this, I mean miracles, getting yourself into what actually is going on. What is a miracle? How is this working? And how am I supposed to live this? See, this is what is being offered here. And that is the first step to come to a constructive use of time. Because the moment that you decide that you don't want the whole repertoire as you know it, like you don't want the whole scenario regarding a certain idea that enters your mind. For instance, an idea of sickness or an idea of, say, fear. If you are able to hand it over and say like, okay, I want to use this in a constructive way. I want this to be used in a constructive way, in which time can be saved, so to speak, in order to come to a state of peace that prevents me from hurting myself, basically. So that's why this is so great for. So I will read more about that, because some of the miracle principles are really connected to these ideas of abolishing time, collapsing time, and that is really great. So the loveliness is in this, that when you actually see that a whole scenario can collapse into one instant, it is just falling apart, so to speak, and you don't have to go through a whole episode or a whole drama in order to get to the same place. That is what saves you and your brothers enormous amounts of pain and limitation and contraction and sickness. And this then only with the purpose of coming to the place together with your brothers where you actually start to unite, as we are already united, but starting the celebration of the homecoming that is actually taking place. You know, we're all coming home. So yeah, why would you want to waste time by taking a detour into some kind of scenario where you actually already know I don't have to do that. I already know I don't have to do that. Or maybe you're not so aware of it, but feel the nature of it as very dragging and slowly and difficult and exhausting and all that. So why not coming into the practice of miracle-mindedness? Why not come into the practice of actively giving this away for yourself in order to receive the miracles for yourself and see that time collapses when you start to allow the miracle to come to you? You know, so that is so beautiful, and it's in fact very easy, because when you step back out of situations, and we can read that lesson too, that's when I step back and let him lead the way, is one of the lessons. So it's like literally you save time by stepping out of the whole situation that you were in a moment ago, in order for the light to come forward and do this for you. Like I personally had just a fresh experience of that. It was a really difficult, in a certain sense, it was a difficult moment where I was with some people together. We had to make a decision, and even though I had prepared it, I stepped back out of it and saw that just by doing that everything was given in that situation that was actually exactly what I had in mind, that I would want, so to speak. And but feeling at the same time that it was really something that was given, and that everyone involved wanted to give that, while it was actually quite something for them too, to actually do this. You know, so that is so beautiful. If you see how much time is being saved by dragging this out into a long procedure of really making it hard for everyone and delaying it and fighting over it and all that kind of stuff. So here it is, it's like it falls into place almost immediately, It was very easy. It was no effort at all, and it was more like, okay, am I ready to receive this gift already? Oh my God, it's amazing. I love that. See, then you also feel it's like that's cleaning up very quick. That's really great. Then it's not a difficult thing to do, and you're immediately inspired to move on and take the next step. So that is very effective in that sense, also in dealing with daily affairs in your life, to come to the place where you actually step out of it, let it, with a capital I, lead the way in this. So that's very miraculous, and also it feels very constructive. It saves a lot of time. So mostly the things that are saving a lot of time, the doing that's connected to it for you is then basically that you're not doing anything. Then it will work a lot quicker. You get out of the way and it works a lot quicker. Mostly we're just in the way of ourselves in order for something to transit through. And that is what is so amazing. So that is something to be aware of. Get out of the way. Let go. Let God. Like the issues where you walk around with for days, you have cyclical thinking going on. Things are being, you literally think about stuff for too many times. You already see it yourself too. It's like, oh, I should stop doing this, but I seem not to be able to do this. So then to stop yourself and say like, oh, wait a minute, I've all power. I don't have to do this. So I can decide otherwise. I can step out of this for myself and say like, okay, you take it from here. I'm just willing to listen. And I'm able to do anything that you want me to do. See, and that makes a lot of the difference. And then we're actually heading in right into the prayer too, what I was sharing with you. It's like the part of the prayer where you actually, what belongs to you, that part, is basically that you surrender yourself to the point where you say like, okay, I'm willing to listen. And I'm able to do what it is that you will me to do. What you want me to do, I will do that. This is what I want for myself. So that is, see how subtle that is, but very helpful, very helpful. Then it becomes clear, okay, here it stops for me. I don't have to go any further. It is taken over for me. And it will be so much more effective. It will be effective, basically. What I try to do is not effective, but what is given me to do and what is an extension of my reality is what is very effective and very loving at the same time. And this is exactly what I meant with the idea of creation. It's like you become an extension of creation. It is not that you're creating that much, no, but your voice and your hands and your hand and your mouth and your ears are necessary for it. It's like everything is going to be used for you to do this by being completely in the state of vulnerability, openness, stepping back, like letting go of what you think the problem is, handing it over. See, this is your position, so to speak. And it's a very active position because you're actually doing something. Stepping back is also an activity. It's an activity that's actually constructive, more than your response to situations in which you try to fix the problems yourself. We have discovered that is not very effective, and it is very exhausting, and it causes a lot of extra problems too. So if you're still like that, you can still do that, of course, too. It's your free will, but this is just, if you want to use time constructively, this is the way to go. So now I should be able to find some of it back in the text too, because it is connected for sure. Okay, so readiness here, and this is on page 20 of the Urtext. Readiness here means keep your perception right side up or valid. So you will always be ready, willing and able. And these are the essentials for listen, learn and do. You must be ready to listen, willing to learn and able to do. Only the last is involuntary, because it is the application of miracles which must be Christ-controlled. But the other two, ready to listen and willing to learn, are the voluntary aspects of miracle-mindedness. They are up to you. See, this is quite specific, isn't it? Only the last is involuntary, able to do. You are able to do, but that will be given and Christ-controlled. Ready to listen and willing to learn is your part in it. So this is also where the resistance comes up then. Ready to listen and willing to learn. Actually, if you don't experience miracles, this is the point where it actually is upsetting to you. It's like you don't feel willing to do or willing to learn because you want to hold on to your old idea, or you will not be ready to listen because you already have an idea, so you're not open to listen. So the prayer that's connected to all of this is then, if you will tell me what to do, only that I will to do. If you will tell me what to do, only that I will to do. So this is like the basic prayer, to become an instrument. If you will tell me what to do, only that I will do. So that's a T1B 40T. So very, very helpful. Okay, so here we're going to read some of the miracle principles here. The miracle, on the other hand, is a sign of love among equals. Equals cannot be in awe of each other because awe always implies inequality. Awe is properly experienced even awe is not properly experienced even to me. That is why in that short introductory vision I knelt beside you, facing the light. So that is about awe. Here's another one that we use very much in the infinite way, and that is this: I and my Father are one. From John 10:30, verse 30. I and my Father are one. There are still separate parts in the statement in recognition of the fact that the Father is greater. Actually, the original statement was, I and my Father are of one kind. I and my Father are of one kind. Okay, so skipping through. The miracle, here it is. The miracle is a learning device which lessens the need for time. This is B41. The miracle is a learning device which lessens the need for time. The sudden shift from horizontal to vertical perception, which the miracle entails, introduces an interval from which the doer and the receiver both emerge farther along in time than they would otherwise have been. So it's a sudden shift from a horizontal to a vertical perception. See, and that is just like, it is suddenly you realize your real connection with one another is like a vertical one, like a vertical connection instead of a horizontal one. Like, we love to see the earth with people holding hands and all that, but that can only be, say, in the light of our oneness. That has nothing to do with the horizontal plane in that sense. So the horizontal plane can only be then at best a reflection of our vertical connection. And vertical in the sense of, okay, we come from one source. Okay, 40b1 is, a miracle has thus the unique property of abolishing time by rendering the space of time it occupies unnecessary. So it occupies unnecessary. The space of time, like the moments between moments, it renders it unnecessary. Like suddenly there's a collapse of time. It falls apart, so to speak. And we'll come back to that later on too. There's no relation between the time a miracle takes and the time it covers, for it constitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. It does this by the underlying recognition of perfect equality and holiness between doer and receiver, on which the miracle rests. See, and that is why it's so loving. That's why it's so loving to perform miracles and to receive them and to give them away, and to, because it is an expression of equality. It is not based on differences. It is not based on anything of a comparison. It is not based on how much you earn in a year. It is not based on what skin color you have. It is not based on religion. It's not based on any of the laws that we come up with as human beings. So this is completely beyond that, and that's why it works so well, and it's also the only loving way to perceive this, like to deal with this. So you give it just because you're equals. You're like you. That is the loving part in it. You literally forgive yourself all the differences that you have set up between you and your brother. That is, that's the undoing, is what we say. Okay, yes. So it's also the recognition of equality, and that's of course the next step. Then it isn't. You recognized equality. We come from the same source. We are the same love. We don't say that all the things that are related to perception are in the way for us to see our equality. Because if you look at us, we all seem to be looking so different, while we're actually completely the same. We share exactly the same source. So in the moment of the miracle, you actually recognize that, because the only thing that happens is that you feel the love for your brother in relationship with your creator. It's like, yes, absolutely. Oh my God, it's so great. That's so lovely. I love you. And in the same moment, it is also, yes, I love God. Yes, absolutely. I feel the love of God shining down on me and my brother together. We celebrate this moment together in this completely new light that just came out of the blue. Not just by us giving a rest to our ideas about differences. See, and that is how easy this is too. So imagine you're in situations where you actually see differences, or where there seems to be a conflict. Then basically you're not seeing your brother for who he is. You think that there's a difference and a reason that you need to attack him. And when that dissolves, when you let go of these ideas you hold about it, suddenly there's a possibility of a miracle, that you actually start to laugh with the person. It's like, oh my God, what were we doing a moment ago? I wouldn't want to do anything with you. I just love you. And that is the opportunity, and that is the liveliness of what is actually presented. Suddenly you find yourself back into creation. And it feels so different, and you know that so well too. It's not that I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It is just very nice to remember this with you. That is so different. It's so great to remember this, because it is literally what confirms the relationship that is there. And that's basically with no matter who you are meeting, with who you are, who you in what situation you are. It really doesn't matter. We said before that the miracle abolishes time. It does this by a process of collapsing it. It thus abolishes certain intervals within it. It does this, however, within the larger temporal sequence. Okay, that's great. As long as it's being collapsed, I'm happy with it. So I don't know what that would mean in a larger temporal sequence. But it sounds terrific, because I love time to be collapsed. So I don't care if what actually the meaning of this. I don't need to understand it for me to be excited about it. Like, I'm already excited about this, because the idea of collapsing time is in fact shortening the time that you still can suffer the consequences of your limited perception. So one more, and then and then we can start reading together. There's one that I really love. Oh yeah, this one. The miracle is the only device which man has at its immediate disposal. This 41e. Immediate disposal for controlling time. Only revelation transcends it, having nothing to do with time at all. The miracle is much like the body, in that both are learning aids which aim at facilitating a state in which they are unnecessary. When the soul is finally in its original state of direct communication, neither the body nor the miracle serves any purpose. Okay, and I see here my favorite sentence too, in 41f. So I have to do this one too. While he is in the body, however, man can choose between loveless and miraculous channels of creativity. He can create an empty shell, but he does not create nothing at all. So in other words, you're always creating something. He can wait, delay, paralyze himself, reduce his creativity to almost nothing, and even introduce a real development arrest or regression. But he cannot abolish his creativity. He can destroy his medium of communion. He can destroy his medium of communication, but not his potential. All right. So there was the creativity part. See, and don't think of creativity as abstract at all, but as an extension of love. So that's all good to keep in mind when you read the Urtext, because the associative thinking that we're so used to as having associations with the idea of creativity are just in the way for you to actually read this in a new way. So when you see it related to love as an extension of love, then it becomes a lot closer to you too. You know, that's why I love that, to do it like this, to bring this like this. All right, so the next one, 41G, is really great too, but we're going to do that in our reading together as part of this class. So thank you for that, and thank you for listening.